Nigel, I'll start with you here. Are you surprised, first of all, with the timing of Liam Rosenior being fired? Obviously, it's been an awful run in the Premier League, their worst run in the Premier League, in fact, in 114 years, if you can believe it. What's your reaction?
No, I'm not surprised, Poppy, if I'm honest. We know what football is. Football is a results business. And the one thing for me that hasn't surprised me is the manner in which this new Chelsea ownership group have been working this football club and the direction that they believe the club is going to go in. Yes, they are probably masters when it comes to the finances of it and rewriting the books in how to get around financial side of football. When it comes to the game itself and understanding how football works and football clubs and direction of travel, I'm not surprised that they sack Liam.
Well, what do you think?
To be fair, you did say before he got the job, you said you don't think he was the right guy for the job, even though he was your boy. But there's a two-headed thing here, right? There's the ownership that we need to talk about at Chelsea. That obviously there's been this manager merry-go-round has been very unrealistic of what their expectations are to get out of this young group. And then there's what Liam Rosenior did in his job. You know, 1 win in the last 8. In 6 of those games, he doesn't score a goal. Just let's start with Liam. Do you think he did enough to keep the job, or do you think the sacking was justified in that way, without talking about ownership?
No, he didn't do enough. He knows he's in the results business. Liam got into management and understood football. You know, like I said, Liam and I played together from our younger days in England under 21s. We knew each other very well. He knows the business. He got into it. He got into management because he wanted to. It's not an easy job description to go into football management, but he knows the bottom line is it's a results business. And this is the beauty of football. But you, at the same time, you're a club like Chelsea. They've got high expectations. Yes, they might be living on the past ownership group in what they did and how they went about stuff to, you know, win Premier League titles, win Champions League. The fans have that same appetite for Chelsea Football Club to be successful. It was always going to be a very demanding job in the sense of every bit of the results that he got will be analysed. Everything that he did will be analysed to another level. This is what comes with being at a club that's in the 1%. Pressure is there daily, day in, day out. Every result, every substitution, every formation you make, you will be analysed. So I'm not surprised that he lost his job, Grella, because if you look at the results, he knows himself it hasn't been good enough.
Yeah, Nigel, I just felt like they gave him a 5.5-year deal. They wanted to give him a runway, I feel like. I felt like in that way they were being very honest with their approach in terms of giving him a long-term deal. But the results of the last 8 games alone, I mean, you could look at the body of work, but also the last 8 games, some of the stuff he did in the media and said in the media, I think for me, he really derailed himself in a lot of ways. And I know ownership there is not an easy ownership to get along with, but I feel like, you know, at the last 8 games, it was like you had to get rid of him regardless of how much you thought he was going to be good in the future.
This goes to the lack of direction and understanding that's around Chelsea Football Club about the footballing world and how it works. Because again, I think they failed to realise how much under the microscope any manager, any coach that goes to Chelsea is going to be under. Liam was not naive to that. But then obviously that they've said that this will be a long-term project. But I think for me, the right thing would have been keep him in-house, let him continue to develop. Let's see how he gets Strasbourg to Champions League, football Liga.
Having said all that, Nigel, do you think that anything that Liam could have done differently would have changed, you know, the outcome? Obviously, hindsight's easy, but one of the criticisms from the fans was that a lot of his behaviour on the sideline was performative and the way that he spoke to the media. Would he have regretted any way that he led Chelsea, do you think?
Oh, I think this is the thing. I think a lot of people say it's performative. They paid a lot more attention to his personality than they did to his coaching aspect and what he could do as a coach, as a manager. That was him being true to himself. One thing that Grella would probably know as well is managers and coaches, people that we know have gone into that industry, have always said the one regret that they had is they wish that they'd have done it their way. As long as Liam can walk away from this and knowing that he was true to himself and did it his way and wasn't influenced by other people, that's it. But the same day, Poppy, it's a results business. The results he got weren't good enough to keep him in the job right now with what Chelsea are trying to achieve and do. And you talk about the financial gains or the financial losses for the football club if they don't make Champions League. So they had to make a decision and obviously he wasn't getting the results and that was the only way they could go.
We've got a viewer comment on YouTube here. Let's have a look at what it said. They should have kept Maresca I mean, Maresca had his own issues with the ownership group. Aside from the results, right, Grella, is this just an easy answer for Chelsea fans to say at this point?
I mean, but there's another obvious one for me. Maresca's a top-quality manager, whether you like him or not. He's a top-quality manager. You win the FIFA Club World Cup with him. You show progress with him. He's a young group. He had his demands. He had his things that he wanted out of the group. But then he came out in December, if I'm not mistaken, and said that he just had the worst meeting he's ever had in his life at the football club. And then after that, he sort of kind of threw in the towel. Results dipped, and then that was never going to work out in the first place. So that was also, for me, on ownership. That's the obvious one, that they should have kept a manager like Maresca. But to go back to what Nigel's saying is, if you don't know what direction you want to go in, how do you know who you want? How do you know who's good? How do you know who's not good? It requires trust. It requires a real plan. And I think the ownership doesn't have that right now. They think that they can just pay their way out of it, and it's not going to happen. I don't see it.
Here's what the fans think in a poll that said, should they have kept Liam Rosenior, or the right decision, to be fired? 77% say yes, 23% say no. I mean, obviously the fans are frustrated, right? You can see that. You can see from the reaction. Here's also a list of all the managers that we've seen under Todd Bowley. Where do they go, I suppose, Nige, from here? If you're in the Chelsea board now, are you thinking, let's bring in back a Frank Lampard, let's try and get Cesc Fabregas? Because they've tried a lot of different managers at this point, haven't they?
They have, Poppy, but there'll be no top manager who will take this job unless they get full control and direction of where this club's going to go. Any top manager who takes this club is probably looking for a payday. That's the reality, because it is still Chelsea Football Club. They can pay very well, so I'm sure there'll be a long list of people lining up for this job, but whether it's the right candidate they take or not, that's going to be probably down on them in who they pick.
Here's just another comment that we're going to have a look at, because it's a huge summer for them, really, isn't it? This is just as much Rosenior's fault as it is the owners and sporting directors. You reap what you sow. This is a make or break summer for their ownership of the club. Do you agree, Grella? Do you think the fans now are looking at the ownership and thinking, actually, you guys are starting to look like the problem in not being able to put somebody permanent in charge and have this structure of the club, working in tandem? For
me, it's ownership 100%. They want to do whatever they want with no direction. I mean, I think this is the conversation. And then they move on from Maresca, who I thought was doing an okay job for them. But now we're talking about two different things. That's why I started that way. But when you talk about Liam Rosenior, he's not, all due respect to him, because I think it was an impossible job, very difficult job. He's not the manager for Chelsea. Not now. Maybe in a few years, maybe at a different circumstance. Maybe he's a big manager club at a different club. He's not the guy for Chelsea. We knew that. He knew that, right? He was very close to him. I knew that. The fans knew that coming in. He was not the right guy. So yes, it is Liam Rosenior's. He has to look at himself for sure and say, what could I have done differently? This was not good enough. And then also, if you're a Chelsea fan, you get to look at the ownership and say, what are these guys doing? Because they're all over the place at the moment. And if you want to be successful like the biggest clubs in the world, you need consistency, and you need to do it over and over again for a long period of time with the same leadership group, with the same good people in charge. And if you keep having turnover, you maybe win a FIFA Club World Cup, right? I don't know what that holds in its weight, but you maybe win a couple trophies here or there, but you're never going to build something really special. Well,
here's just a look at who we could see take over. Obviously, with Chelsea, Callum McFarlane is until the end of the season, as the report suggests. But the odds for the favourite, Cesc Fabregas, is currently leading at a +250. We've seen what he's doing with Como at the minute, though. Obviously, they're flying. They're the hot team in Italy right now with this young team. Who do you think will go in? Because, Nige, you were just saying a minute ago that this Chelsea job is no longer an attractive job, even though they've got, one of the richest owners in world football.
I mean, Poppy, just look at that list there of names and managers, and you talk about experience and stuff. Do you honestly think that any of those managers would manage under this circumstances of Chelsea right now, the ownership group and how we've been? We saw under Maresca about the medical staff kind of letting know what players can play and what players can't play, that kind of situation that you have to handle. And then now you look at players speaking out about ownership group and teams being leaked before games. The only person I could probably say who might be interested or really want to take it is Felipe Luis, the ex-Chelsea player. I think that he probably might take it under those circumstances, but I highly doubt those other names, those managers there, would manage a club like this in this kind of situation and disarray right now, unless they get full and utter control of recruitment, who comes in, who comes out, and get control to be a manager and do what a manager's supposed to do.
Frank Lampard's been another one that's been swirled in the headlines. Grella obviously has had
Frank
success
ain't going
with
nowhere.
Coventry.
He just got Coventry promoted. There's no way. I cannot see Frank leaving Coventry and the opportunity that was provided for him there. And there's going to be long-term security with Coventry because he got them promoted to actually have a say and do what he has to do. I know there's a love affair with Frank and Chelsea, but even Frank Lampard will not be naive to take Chelsea under these current circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, even Frank, right, when he was at Chelsea, right, it led to like, oh, is he a good manager? Is he not a good manager? And then finally, he found a little consistency with Coventry, and he was able to build a group. They have a distinct style of play, get them promoted the following year. They were good, obviously, the year before as well. So in football, you need good people around the project that understand money, understand football, understand players' mentality, and all those things. And you need to have them together for a few years where you can have some consistency, and Chelsea doesn't have that.
Poppy, if they want to stabilise this ship, they need to get a top manager. But no top manager is going to work under those circumstances unless the money that Chelsea are offering is really good. I tell you that
Which
now.
I'm sure it will be, right? The money is not.
I mean, obviously, 5.5 years and you get sacked after 4 months. That's happy days, right?
Yeah, but it also depends on the circumstances that you be working under. You know, not everyone's motivated by money like Grella, the slumlord.
It's better than winning the Champions League. 5-year vacation.
Give us a name then, Nige. If you're the Chelsea ownership, who's going in the ring for you?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I think that the managing place will probably stay right now to the end of the season. I think it will be, again, a very silly decision to put someone else in from now to the end of the season when we all know World Cup's coming. It's going to be a manager merry-go-round. Wait till the summertime to make that decision, because if you make another poor decision now and another maybe highly regarded manager becomes available in the summer, people will put the spotlight on ownership. So now you've made your bed, you've laid in it, you've sacked Liam Rosenior after you talked about the long-term project. The smart thing to do now is just let it go to the end of the season.
Liam Rosenior has been sacked. Chelsea just 5 points in their last 9 Premier League matches. Only Tottenham have had less during that time.